Speaking of all that, do you feel the offense is close to reaching its peak yet?
I do. I feel like we've been picking it up each week, and that's a good thing because you want to be picking it up towards the end of the season. And I feel like as an offense, we're starting to come together, and this is a good time to start coming together as an offense.
Coach Petno was saying he's never satisfied, though. He's always looking for that one thing you're still doing wrong. How does he react to games like last week? How does he go about addressing that and moving forward?
Well, just like him, I'm never satisfied either. There's always things you can find to do better. Even when you have a whole come together as an offense and have a good game, there's always little things that you can do better. So as far as this past game, there's just little things that we can do better, little mistakes that we're making. And if we get those cleaned up, then, we can just drive down the field. The only thing that stops us is ourselves. So when we get those little things cleaned up, I don't think anything's going to be able to stop us.
Charlotte hasn't stopped much of anything this year. When you see that matchup, do you get excited facing a team that's giving up so many points?
I get excited any Saturday when we have a game. You don't get that many games in a regular season, so football season is an exciting time for me. But when you're playing a team like they have a lot of athletes, and they can surprise you at any moment. So we just gotta take it like any other game. We gotta look at what Charlotte does, and we gotta focus on what we need to do and game plan against them. And if we do that week in, week out, we're gonna be all right.
Does it matter that you kind of take a break from Big South play right now? You said you like playing any game, but to not have a conference game, what's that in the middle of the conference season? Is that a little odd, or is it not?
I don't look at it as conference game, non-conference game. I look at it as no matter who we're gonna play, we want to win. You don't look at it as a week to kind of take off, because we have that goal of each week we want to go undefeated. We want to go 1-0 each week. So when we look at it like that, I don't think this is a week to take off just because it's a non-conference game.
Not that you're lacking for confidence as is, but when you look at their schedule and see they've played a lot of the same teams and they've lost to the teams that you've beaten, what reaction do you have to that? Does that give you another boost going into this matchup?
Not really, because they've all been pretty close games, as I've seen. They're always in the ball game. They have some good skill position players. They're explosive. So, if we come out and we look at it like we're going to beat this team, then they can punch you in the mouth and they can surprise you. So we got to go into it, like I said, just as another game. We got to focus on them and focus on our game plan and do what we do.
As this offense is coming into your own, as you just said, is there anyone, as the leader of it, is there anyone you've noticed, or any few people you've noticed over the last month or so where the games has really stepped up and really helped you out?
The offensive line has really stepped up. They've been playing phenomenal. Those guys hardly let anyone through. It's only when they're blitzing and maybe I don't slide the protection the right way, someone gets through. They've done a phenomenal job. I think we've only given up 6 sacks all year long, which is one of the best in the country. So I think the offensive line has definitely picked it up.
How often do you thank them for that?
Every week, week in, week out, I thank them for that.
I think number one, I think Charlotte, I think they get hurt a little bit by what the overall record is because they've dropped the last 5 in a row. But when you look at those films, as I have, and you look at the scores, it's easy to see that any one of those games literally could have gone either way. Chances are they weren't going to win all 5, but they could have won all 5, literally just by what happened, a little break here and there as far as that goes. Technically, that would make them undefeated. Now, I know that sounds like a stretch, but here's the point that I want to make. They are an FBS team. I recognize they're going through transition. They got 75 scholarships. That's 20% more scholarships than what we do. The kids are physical. They are tough. They do a good job of getting to the ball. They're playing at home. Sold-out crowd. It's always a nice environment for them to play in. They just had a bye week. So it gives the guys a little chance to kind of heal, and frankly, extra preparation for us, because they're going to do everything they can to kind of stop the losing streak. So I think we have our work cut out for us. When you look at their offense, if you take a look They're listed under transition or whatever they list them at the FBS stats. But if you took those FBS stats offensively and you moved them up, they would be well ranked in almost every offensive category. Number 3 averages well over 6 yards a carry. Put that in perspective, you know, that's what Hop averages, and he well leads the Big South as far as rushing goes. Their quarterback runs the ball a reasonable amount of time. He averages over 6 yards a carry. I know he's out as far as this game goes. I understand that. They have the ability to throw the ball. They've been good at that, and the combination of the ability to throw and run the ball, I think, makes them a formidable offense. The national statistics would say that. Jill, you need me? You want to come up here and sit? Okay. But so the national stats would say that. So let's spend a moment. I'll come back on the quarterback in a moment. From a special teams perspective, they force you to do a lot of preparing. They're very good at that. They hurt us a little bit a year ago with regards to the special teams. We know we got to be well prepared. I know they're giving us a lot of things to think about, and they've done a good job with regard to the special teams. So the special teams needs to be reckoned with. I think where they have some issues is on the defense. Their defense, they've got a lot of young guys, and because they have a lot of young guys, they make inexperienced type mistakes. But those guys are pretty good athletes. Those guys are physical. Those guys do get to the ball, but they make some mistakes. Now, as those guys get more and more experience, you'd assume they make less mistakes, and they just had 2 weeks to get ready for us. So you got to assume the defense has probably solved some of their problems, and they're going to be ready to go. So I have no doubt whatsoever that this is going to be one of those games with a week off, at home, sellout crowd, got to turn around their losing streak. They're going to be quite ready to go. So we got to make sure, like every week, we got to make sure that we're prepared on our end, that we will be prepared by the time we get there on Saturday. Now let me address the quarterback thing. This quarterback, you got 8 is the starter, 5 is the backup. If you look at 5 has been the backup for 2 years, so he knows the offense, and he's got plenty of time. When you see him come in the game on last weekend against, or 2 weeks ago against JMU, they're behind by at least 2 touchdowns, maybe it was 3. I think he completes his first 10 or 11 passes in a row. They come after him times. He showed poise in the pocket. He does a very nice job throwing the ball. Actually, I think he's a better thrower than what 8 is. 8, I think, is more of a threat to run. This kid will run too, but I think he's thinking more of where to throw the ball. 8 would take off a little quicker. 5 will not take off as quick, but he gets himself out of trouble. He's not going to be prone to many sacks. I think their quarterbacks are taught under pressure, just get rid of the ball, take an incompletion, but don't take a sack. They do a good job of that. This guy, when he's under pressure, does do a good job of either getting rid of the ball or getting out of trouble. When you have a quarterback that takes a little longer to determine whether he's going to throw the ball, that means your coverage has to hold up for another extra second or so. That puts some pressure on your secondary. So I think this kid, we're not preparing any differently whatsoever. I think this kid's a good, solid quarterback. I think, I have no doubt. Just watch him on film from what he did against JMU. But I think our game plan versus either 1, 8 or 5 is going to be the same. It's not going to change how we approach it. But I think 5 is going to hold his own. 5 is going to hold his own. Those are my thoughts, guys. What kind of questions do you have?
How about their receiver, Austin Duke, has put up some pretty impressive numbers. What stands out to you?
I forgot to mention him. I think he's got outstanding numbers. So when you look at kind of their running game averaging, their key people, 6.5 yards a carry, and then this kid in 8 games has gained, 1,100, 1,200 yards. He's got 9 touchdowns, whatever he's got. Very, very quick, very fast. He's got good hands. I mean, he's a perfect slot back. I mean, he figures out ways to get open. You throw the ball to him, he's going to catch it. You better have the right angles on you. You better wrap up because he's going to outrun you if you don't. He's a slippery guy. He's a good guy for them to throw the bubble screen stuff too. No, he's got to be contended with. So the combination of all those things give him one of the better offenses in the FBS.
How do you match up with a guy like that?
Well, I think we always got to know where he is, just like everything else. Now, there's no question this guy has most of their yardage and far more catches and yardage than somebody else does. But they have pretty good receivers. Again, they have a good offense. So if you overplay 10, they're going to hurt you someplace else. So I think what we're trying to do, we want to always be aware of 10 and kind of aware of, not making a mistake there, but we don't want to overplay him. So we'll be aware of 10. We'll know, hopefully we'll be well prepared in terms of the different ways they try to attack it. But if you overplay 10, one of these other guys are going to get open. So we got to be careful of that we don't do that. Sometimes I think teams playing 10 make themselves very vulnerable someplace else. And we try as a habit philosophically not to do that, but we got to know wherever he is.
Can I get your assessment of your offense over the last month and just it seems like there's continued progress each game.
I agree. I think that's kind of what you strive for, especially as you kind of get in later in the season. Early in the year, we talked about the value of compounding. You learn something, keep building on it. That's incredibly positive, and if you know how to use that, it becomes a competitive advantage. Compounding can also be a negative too if you're starting all over with new players, or you've been allowing somebody to get away with making mistakes, or maybe even teaching something poorly. Now you're compounding something negative. That's clearly going to work against you. But I think we do a pretty good job of the compounding thing. I think those are the reasons why I think you see our team in general improving. I think across the board, I think the offense, the issues that we had earlier in the season, we were having too many penalties, too many drop balls, too many fumbles, too many interceptions. We're keeping that to a minimum. I think none of us were pleased with the penalties that we had the other day against Gardner-Webb, and I think none of us were pleased with 2 fumbles. But thank goodness we didn't lose those fumbles. Alex played well, Hop played well, Matt and Israel played well, or Terrell rather played well, and I thought the offensive line went up doing a good job. So it was a good solid performance on the part of the offense. Where we lacked was the areas I just mentioned, but we need to do a better job with productivity and stats. Doesn't mean much. What you've got to be able to do is score touchdowns. You got to get the ball into the end zone. We got to make sure we get our short yardage stuff kind of addressed this week, which I know we're working on, and we got to do a better job of getting the ball into the end zone rather than settle for a field goal. But I'm pleased with the progress the offense is making. I'm pleased with where they are now.
Thoughts on Election Day?
The results, I think I feel pretty good about, what took place as far as Election Day. I think the people that I really know, a little bit more the people in Nebraska. So, for example, the new governor of the state of Nebraska, Pete Ricketts, actually worked for me at Ameritrade. So I kind of know some of those people. So I was looking at both of the elections in terms of South Carolina and Nebraska, and a little bit kind of what's going to happen with regards to the Republican and the Democratic balance in the Senate and the House. But kind of remains to be seen kind of how this is all going to kind of play out now. You happy with what happened in South Carolina?
Still breaking it down.